Hi everyone and welcome to the very first edition of Demo Disc. This is a new series for me on Higher Plane Games, and my rule is simple. I will play a demo for up to 20 minutes and then give my impressions on it. And I will try and do this weekly for a little while to see how it catches on. Your feedback is very much welcome, so do let me know down in the comments if you find this useful. This is in part a response to me loving the fact that I used to pick up the PlayStation magazine demo discs when I was at school, and loved that. But also developers reaching out and saying, I've got a demo going live, are you able to cover it? And me going, no, I do reviews, and then kind of losing the ability to try and help people discover more games. So let's dive in, shall we? We've got 13 in this first edition. First up is Godbreakers, and this is a co-op action hack and slash game for 1 to 4 players. I played in solo mode because I'm on Malau, but I got a real good feel for how stylish and, I'm going to say, fluid this game felt. But it took me a while to get used to the controls because all of your attacks are assigned to the bumper and trigger buttons on your controller. And so bumpers were like the fast attacks, the triggers were then the kind of more heavier attacks as you go along, and you can kind of jump and chain things up together as you go. The other cool feature with this is that once you've got a certain meter up on your player and you've got an enemy on low health, you can press Y, as it was on my Xbox controller, to then kill the enemy and subsume one of their skills, which you can then use as an attack elsewhere. And that was incredibly helpful because some of the enemies have got like a laser beam attack or like an area of effect ground smash, which is something you don't have, and then that can become very helpful in your battles. The bosses felt suitably fun and chaotic. I could really see this working fantastically well in co-op. Loved the aesthetic. The music was great, voice acting and just general feel and vibe of this felt very otherworldly and cool. I'm very excited for this. I had it on my wish list before and it's staying on my wish list now. Game number 2 is Reality Drift, and this is a single player racing game that reminds me of Outrun or Chase HQ in a way, but this is you playing as a delivery driver, racing 99 other delivery drivers to deliver something across the galaxy. And the idea is that each race that you're taking part in to deliver moves you across different realities and planets and worlds, and as you do that you go through various gates to upgrade either your grip, maximum speed or your acceleration. And max speed and acceleration kind of go hand in hand a little bit because you can't reach top speed unless you've got right acceleration, but if you're busy playing on that and you've not got a grip, you're going to have to let go of the accelerator when you go around the tight corners because otherwise you'll go off into the dirt. If you don't win the race, then you don't deliver the good and that's considered bad. And so you've got to really think about dodging in and out of 99 other drivers as well as other traffic. But then I really like this whole kind of warped to a different world feel as well. Playful, fun, really engaging, good, consistent racing physics too. And this reminds me of a ZX Spectrum game that I have called Enduro, where it was you up against, I think it was 1,500 AI competitors, like over about a 2-hour race. And so this reminds me of that in all of the best ways possible. Was on my wish list beforehand, stays on my wish list now. Next on the list is Dice a Million, and this is from publisher Two Left Thumbs. And I have to say, I've not had a bad experience from buying any of Two Left Thumbs published games, and so this looks like it's going to continue that trend. Dice a Million is a spin on Yahtzee. It's not quite Yahtzee, but it's as a roguelike. So you know we're finding all of these Ballad style games coming out. This kind of fits into a similar theme, but I found it really engrossing. You have a bag full of dice. You will then pick 5 from them as they're randomly pulled from a collection to put into your hand and then roll. And then the face of the die that's facing up then helps you score points, and you need to clear a certain amount of points for each round to then deal with a boss that then starts to muck about with your playing area and causing you problems. Dice come in all different shapes and sizes and forms, and they all have different abilities. So some might be even, some might be odd, some might multiply within a vicinity, some might have a magnet that draws them all in close and then starts to add them all together. Some might be a D20, some might be a D8. Like, there's loads of different ones, and then you can start throwing in like bottle caps and things like that too. On top of that, there are also cards that you can buy and then alter very specific throws. There are rings you can put on your finger that then add permutations that kind of override everything else. And you can also get stamps that then add multipliers for very specific scores of 1 through to 6, for example. There are so many things to consider. They all make a difference, but the game is also quite hard. I didn't manage to beat the boss in the demo because it starts setting fire to your playing area and then burning dice, which meant I wasn't scoring very much. And yeah, it's hard, but I'm looking forward to getting the challenge. This wasn't on my wish list, and now it is. Next up is my favourite titled game on this list, Clever Girls, and it is a story-driven RPG that has battles that play out like a turn-based tactics game. And you play as 4 different dinosaurs trying to escape and make a new life outside of their mysterious, not Jurassic Park dilapidated setting. As you do this, you will then need to move around various different environments in a very 3D world, and use the different skills of the different dinosaurs to then combat all of the enemies that are busy trying to get rid of you because you are company assets. And if you're going to escape, they'd rather have you dead than let you loose. So this means that you'll be trying to sneak around and kill various different enemies, or trying to merge dinosaurs together to do party-based attacks so that that can then build up your relationship between the dinosaurs so that they can all become best friends. So there's a little bit of relationship drama going on. There's a general overarching escape your compound theme, but also some proper turn-based tactic battles going on too. What a trip! I have to say, I really enjoyed this demo. The demo itself is also a standalone mini intro to the full game. So I'm going to go back, because I stopped after my 20 minutes because of my rule, to actually finish off the whole demo for this one, because it's almost like a prelude before you get the main game. And so why not? It's free, it's out there. I had great fun and I highly recommend it. This is on my wish list too. This next game has also stayed on my wish list, and it's called Endless Night: The Darkness Within. And the closest game that I would say for this, because it's a 2D Metroidvania platformer in a 3D environment, would probably be the Little Nightmares series. And the reason why I call that one out specifically as opposed to others is because Endless Night is all around dealing with mental health and a dream world environment, and how if you've compartmentalised all different parts of your trauma and personality, and specifically PTSD with this game, then it starts to conjure up all kinds of weird nightmarish thoughts, feelings, environments. And this is what this game leans into. I wouldn't call it strictly horror. It's more twisted and just tense. But it's beautifully put together. The graphics are very stylish. The controls are quite floaty, but the reason why it's quite floaty is because a lot of this game revolves around fireflies. And what you'll be doing is pressing and holding jump so that you can fly periodically for like a few seconds. And this will get you from different firefly colours that will either boost you forward or bounce you up higher or let you float a little bit longer. And so you end up kind of traversing between different fragmented platforms by being able to fly quite a long way. And that takes a little bit of like reconfiguring of your brain, because the environments are quite spread out and you could miss quite a lot of what's going on in this game if you just run to the right. And so I found this really enjoyable, loved the setting, felt really tense without being horror-like. And yeah, I'm quite intrigued to see where this takes mental health and PTSD and its psychological action adventuring when it comes to its full release later on. Next up, in a complete change of pace, is Unboxathon, and this is a cute clicker game which sees you initially clicking on bubbles for no particular reason to then be able to get a parcel delivered. When the parcel gets delivered, you'll need to uncut it and unbox it, getting through the box ribbon with your box cutter, then undo the packaging and get rid of that to reveal whatever items are inside. Those items are worth cash value, which you can then use to spend to upgrade your box cutter, get more bubbles through, get better boxes with better things inside, and eventually start to ascend boxes to have bigger, better things that are coming. Everything that you know and love about clicker games are here. I found it to be a little bit sluggishly slow, particularly on the getting through my packaging and all of that kind of stuff, and it felt like it bogged down the gameplay slightly for me. But I'm clearly not the audience for this. I'm not a massive clicker fan, but I just thought this had a cool reskinning and redressing, so I thought it was worth me diving in. Aside from that comment, I didn't really find anything wrong with this. I'm not the audience, so I've not personally wishlisted this, but if you do enjoy a clicker style game, this could be a cutesy one for you. Out of all the games on this list, Dominova was probably the biggest pleasant surprise for me because I wasn't aware of it and I came away an absolute fan and wishlisted it immediately. This is dominoes with a Ballad twist to it. Can you spot the theme here? The idea is that you need to clear certain score thresholds by placing down dominoes in weird and wonderful formations before you run out of hearts and lives. And you get given a domino deck that you can build on over time. And you'll need to lay them down so that the colours match back to back and side to side. So you can have like green against green, red against red, blank ones can kind of match up against anything. And there are certain dominoes that will have special abilities, like having a axe or a like hammer that can chop through rocks that are spread around the different environments, so that can kind of give you a more open plan way to play. Alongside that, there are upgrades and downgrade areas, shops, there's elemental things that can go on, so maybe some of the spaces can catch fire, which will then burn through your domino, meaning that the score ends there, or it freezes it, which means it halves the score. And then there's also meteors coming in from above, and if you place a domino where a meteor is going to hit, at the end of your turn, a meteor will hit, and that domino will be crushed and eliminated from your deck forever. And so you've got to make sure that you're being careful with what it is that you put down. I found this intensely satisfying, difficult and tricky, but also with loads of options for where you wanted to take your dominoes and your deck and how everything hangs together. And yeah, this was incredibly engrossing. Absolute day one buy for me, as are several on this list, but this was the one that I kind of went, cool, I never knew this game existed, and came away an absolute fan. Next up is a board game, or a digital collection of board games called Wall and Tower Collection. And this is for 1 to 6 players to play locally, and there was one mode that was available in the demo. And the idea behind this is that you've got 6 characters at the bottom of the screen needing to get to the top of the screen. You roll a die, and then that tells you either how many squares you can move, or if you roll the wall token, then you can change the orientation of 2 walls. So you can block people in or unblock your path. And then there's like this giant castle that can then also be selected if you roll it, that can then move around and smash into different opponents, eliminating them and putting them back to the beginning. Now, this is slightly slow-paced and very retro in the way how it's put together, but I really quite enjoyed playing this. I was playing versus myself, basically, but I could understand the rules and the mechanics. I could see it potentially getting into that situation where loads of people just keep on getting put back to the start over and over and over again. But once you make a break for it and you're able to get some clean air, then suddenly the race is on and everyone's trying to get to the front. And yeah, surprisingly better than perhaps what the screenshots and the gameplay might show. And I'll also say that you can zoom in and have like 3D views of what's going on. I just didn't realise until I looked at the trailer and everything else afterwards. So apologies for the very top-down view that you've got of this game. Now the next game on this list is Temples vs Buildings, which is a roguelike shoot 'em up. And I'm really torn with this because I enjoyed the demo to some degree, but then found that it was ridiculously easy and made me really question what beyond the demo would be in the full release of the game. And this is because as you play as a temple trying to shoot down all of these different buildings, you very quickly get all of your weapons upgraded. You are able to fly around at a very quick pace, but also all of the enemies are just really easily killed. And it's because the upgrades that you get are just so good that it just means that half the enemies are being killed just as they're making their way onto the screen. And I didn't feel like there was any particular challenge in it for me. The game ran smoothly, it was nicely visually appealing for me, and there seemed to be quite a few different options hinted in the main game of like going to different environments and trying to kill different buildings. But it all just felt a little bit too easy for my liking, and so this one hasn't stayed on my wish list. But if you're looking for an easier arcade shoot 'em up, then this might be a quirky and weirdly themed one that might appeal to you. Next on the list is OreFlux, and this is an action roguelike mining game which is all about fulfilling daily missions, and those missions take 90 seconds. This is fast, frantic and furious, and this is the whole concept of OreFlux, is like, let's do away with the fact that you need to grind for things, let's do it on like hyperspeed, which I can see absolutely appealing to quite a few people. Now with OreFlux, you're busy trying to mine around and collect as much resource as possible and then get it back to the distribution tunnel so that it can then be counted towards your daily limit. And then if you're not able to reach a certain limit when it becomes the mine or die day, then you will die and that will be game over. Now, the upgrades come thick and fast, but you need to decide whether or not you're going to buy them or carry over some of your cash and then try and hope that you get a bigger reward later. And what I did find with OreFlux is that you do feel like you're making progress extremely quickly because everything is happening every 90 seconds. That does mean that runs are thick and fast as well, but it also feels like you're not quite as heavily invested in your progression because it's so ephemeral and in and out very quickly. And so I think this will appeal to quite a few people, but it is designed, I think, to be quite surface deep, which is fine if that's what you're looking for. I think I probably mined out from quite a lot of games of this recently, and so I appreciate what OreFlux is doing, but I've not put it on my wish list because it's not for me personally. A game that I have kept on my wish list is Tavern Talk Stories Dreamwalker. This is a D&D inspired visual novel with potion making elements to it, and it's a separate game from Tavern Talk, which came out last year, which is also on my wish list. So fingers crossed there's a double deal going on when this comes out. The game does not have voice acting. This is all around being read, but the artwork is absolutely beautiful. What I quite liked was, we was going through the different story, was that I seem to be crafting some of my own mini narrative. Now, whether that has any bearing on the actual endings, of which there are supposed to be 3 in the main game, I have no idea. But I like the fact that the game kept asking me choices of different ways to respond to different questions, which felt like I was kind of creating my own backstory. When it came to the potion making in this tavern, though, I did run into a slight issue with controls, and this is because you need to pick up different potions and put them together in your big measuring jug, but you have to kind of unbox it and then hover over the top and then pull it away whenever you reach a certain measure. But if you're slow, you'll pour in more than one measure, and that buggered me up on a couple of occasions. And I really wish that there was an option where you could like tick a box and go just pour one measure, and it would do that automatically for me, and I'd feel like this becomes less of a quick time event and more of a I'm just solving a puzzle. That minor comment aside, I thought this was really charming and I very much enjoyed my time with it, and it stayed on my wish list. Jamboy, a Jelly-cious hero, is a 2D platformer with some absolutely beautiful graphics. I really like the earthworm gymness of this all because of its hand-drawn aesthetic, but it's also quite bold and colourful and full of so much character that it's really that drives the gameplay and the want to continue, probably more so than the actual gameplay itself. The reason I say that is this artwork makes it feel like your characters are moving around like pieces of paper in a real world environment. And so you quite often get caught on ledges or like stuck and then awkwardly like shuffle off to the side because there's only a certain amount of animations that have been hand drawn. And that then triggers across to jumps where you have to do bounce pad jumps through clouds, but sometimes visually you think you're going to hit the cloud and want to jump as you land onto it, but it's not. It's actually when you're halfway through it. And there's just a lot of that kind of, this isn't where I'd naturally think I'd press a button or do a thing, that just happens repeatedly across Jamboy. And it put me off slightly from the overarching experience. I have kept this on my wish list because I thought it was a really creatively looking game that I think if I was able to match my head with its reality, I'd probably very much enjoy. But it's going to take a little bit of reprogramming because nothing triggered in a way how I expected it would do based on what I thought a platform or an attack would be. Props though, I really do like the fact that you can use enemy corpses as a way to kind of stack ladders to then get up to higher platforms. I did think that was a good little use of dead bodies. And then the last game on this list is Ballad as the Music Goes On. And this is a 3D musical platformer. And the idea of this is that you use the face buttons on your controller to call out 4 different musical notes. And it might be a 3 musical note motif to talk to someone, a 3 musical note motif to raise or lower platforms so that you can get on and off them like lifts or open doors. And then you can start to unlock other instruments so that you can then swap them out and different instruments do different things. The demo was quite short. It was also exceptionally buggy. I had to restart it 4 times in the 17 minutes that I played it because it kept crashing and breaking. And the actual demo itself, I was able to kind of complete, I think, in 8 minutes during that 17 total. So it's very rough around the edges. I did like the idea of this though, and so it's staying on my wish list through that alone, not necessarily the experience the demo gave me, but I quite like the idea of using musical motifs to do everything and trigger different environmental challenges and puzzles and things like that. So let's see what happens with Ballad as the music goes. And that's it, the end of episode 1 of Demo Disc. Please let me know your feedback down in the comments. I'd really appreciate it, just to see whether or not this is worth my time investing in to do. Next week's list is all around demos that I've found and played through the Tiny Teams event. So I've already got that all pre-selected. It's going to be an awful lot of cosy and cute small indie vibes. So looking forward to that. Thanks for watching. Please give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and I hope I helped you find some new games. Take care.